Howdy, Blow Bart here, and welcome. Yeah, it is August 3rd, 2019, and there's a topic that I want to discuss that's going to cause a little bit of debate with some people, hopefully, and this is in regards to an event that took place today. And what happened was, let's see, I believe it was El Paso. Today, I'm not sure exactly on the time of it, but in El Paso, Texas, at a Walmart, an individual walked into the store armed and opened fire. Okay, so first off, I want to go ahead and state to the victims and victims' families and so forth, it was a terrible thing, and I'm sorry for your losses, and I wish it had never happened, and I wish you the best for this troubling time. But let's talk about what actually happened here. Armed individual entered the Walmart, as you can see, clearly armed with an AK-47. Gonna assume it was semi-automatic, but not really making the total assumption. The reason why I'm making that assumption is, well, as you can tell, the color of the magazine is a light colored, like a tan colored, and the furniture on it is also tan colored, which leads me to think that it's Magpul furniture. I'm diagnosing what I'm seeing in the weapon, so I'm just saying that this is what I see. Observation-wise, this is a customized AK-47 with modern polymer furniture. The type of weapon does not really have any effect on what the crime was. Let's make no mistake that this crime was an act of domestic terrorism, no matter how you want to look at it. It was done on tax-free weekend, which was a weekend here in the United States to where it was a tax-free weekend so that people could buy supplies, and it's a back-to-school weekend, so to speak. And by that means that essentially, being that it was back-to-school event, people coming in, tax-free weekend, they could save a lot of money to get the supplies and stuff they need for their kids to go back to school. And then there's the other people who just took advantage of the fact that it was tax-free weekend and went in and bought a bunch of shit, because buying a television is something you definitely need for back to school. But doesn't matter, whatever, it was a tax-free weekend. Live it up, go do your spending, go do your shopping, that's great. But being that it was a tax-free weekend meant that the Walmart was packed. There was over 3,000 people in that Walmart at the time of the shooting. That's a lot of innocent bystanders walking around. This shooting was actually premeditated, and the individual in question, I'm not even going to call him a man because he's a piece of shit, committed this act of terrorism for his own political reasons, whatever. I don't even care. So, being that it was a premeditated, he came in with hearing protection on so that he could continue to shoot without damaging his own eardrums. Gee. Okay. I'm going to also cover on another topic that's going to involve this picture here. But, so he premeditated that he was going to go out there on this specific day during a high traffic time when he knew that there would be a large amount of people in to go and shoot innocent bystanders. Well, if you're going to do that kind of bullshit, that's the right time, but you know what? You're still a piece of shit. It's domestic terrorism. He is a terrorist, and he should be executed. There's no doubt of who he is. He was captured, and he's still alive, unharmed. But 18, 19 dead. I've heard as many as 70 people were actually injured. Police, ATF, and so forth responded. The men in blue showed up, and they did their job. They did their job well, and they secured the area. kudos to you guys. You did what you could, and you resolved the situation without killing the bad guy. Actually, I'm saddened by that. I wish he had been. Well, I kind of wish he had been killed, and on the other hand, I'm kind of glad that he wasn't, so he can face justice. And I hope that when he gets to prison, he's beaten up and raped every fucking day of the rest of his life, and made to feel as worthless as he is. He deserves to be punished every single day of his life for the rest of his life, which I hope is a long time for him to be abused. Giving him the death penalty may not be the best option because he won't suffer near as much. I'm sorry, if I was a family member or if I was one of the people that were injured in this act of terrorism, I would have been extremely pissed off, and I'd want justice against this individual. This piece of shit. He deserves justice applied to him as a domestic terrorist. He is a terrorist. He is a criminal. I don't even consider him to be a human. You're just a piece of shit. Okay. Now, I know what's going to come from this, and it saddens me just about as much. There's going to be people who are crying and complaining, we don't have enough gun laws. Bullshit. We have plenty of gun laws. The thing about Texas. Texas is a non-communist state. They allow people to they allow people to legally purchase firearms. They have a good concealed carry permit law in the state that allows you, if you are a concealed carry permit holder, you can also open carry. That does not mean you could walk into a store with an AK-47 slung over your shoulder. Be responsible if you're gonna utilize that part of the law saying that you can carry. Be a decent fucking person and don't be one of these pieces of shit that it's an open carry state so I can have my AR-15 slung over my shoulder and go wherever the hell I want. No, you can't. No. There's a certain thing called morality. There's just no reason for you to open carry a long gun into any sort of establishment. If you have a concealed carry firearm permit, then the firearm in question needs to be related to what you can conceal carry, and a full-size rifle or shotgun does not, to me, include in that category. So, with that, there are some stores, and I've heard of a restaurant in Texas that, now, if you, we'll get back to that, if you are a concealed carry permit holder and you are carrying a concealed or an open carry firearm, and you wish to go into a store and the store does not wish for you to have a concealed carry weapon or an open carry weapon, they must post signs on their doors, one for concealed carry, one for open carry. If they're okay with you to conceal carry, then but not open carry, then all they have to do is put up the sign that says no open carry. It is a specific legal sign that is a certain dimension and has laws on how it's supposed to be displayed. Okay? If you're that store owner, okay, it's your preference whether you want to allow your patrons to be armed visibly or not in your establishment. It's entirely up to you. It's your store. You can make that decision. Okay. So, looking at the door, you've got all these frickin' things posted on the door here, but I'm guessing that this sign right here is actually the one that, sorry, I'm going to keep switching back and forth so I can see that, yeah. So that sign right here is about the right size for one of those signs that will say like no concealed carry or no open carry. But if it's both, they have to have both posted. But I see the one here, and they're supposed to be posted near each other. If you post on your store entryways, at all entryways you must be displayed, that you do not wish for your patrons to have a concealed carry firearm or open carry firearm, then what are you going to do to provide protection for your shoppers to prevent something like this from happening? How are you going to deal with this situation? Do you have adequate security forces to deal with an armed subject who walks in and opens fire? Apparently you didn't, because this guy walked in and killed damn near 20 people and injured a hell of a lot more. All right, so people are going to keep crying about gun laws, but the guns or the firearms are not the problem. But if we ban firearms, then nobody will have the. You know what? If you think that banning firearms is going to stop criminals from carrying out criminal activities or terrorists from doing terrorist acts like this, you're stupid as hell. There's no other way to look at it. You're just plain stupid. Go back to your TV and your movies and live in that little realm, but don't affect my realm. Don't affect the rest of the world with your stupidity, okay? It is not a firearm. I have a gun sitting on my desk right here. I have a 1911 that is cocked and locked. The hammer's back, safety's on. There's a live round in the chamber, and it's been sitting on my desk for 3 years. Now, I clean it because it gets dusty because it's sitting here open on my desk. If you've seen my desk gun video, the guns that I have within close proximity to me, I've got another 45 sitting right now underneath my fingertips, stored in a secret location to where I have quick access to it. I have AR-15s. I have a plethora of handguns all within 10 feet of me. You know what? Not a single one of those has committed a crime. My 1911, as far as I know, has not jumped up off the desk, run out and robbed a store and come back. It hasn't done anything other than getting a cleaning every so often to knock the dust off of it. My guns have not been used in the commission of a crime. It's weird. Yeah. So not all gun owners or firearm owners are bad people. I've got a concealed carry permit, and if I so desire, I can strap one of my 45s or a 9mm or whatever. I've got some antique 38 and 32 caliber revolvers I can pick up and concealed carry. Because weirdly enough, I actually have ammo for those antique things. But I can carry them. I got a Smith & Wesson number 5 made in 1907. I can slap 5 rounds in the cylinder, put it in a holster, throw it in my pocket, whatever I want, and concealed carry that son of a bitch anywhere I want to go. That's legal for me to do so. There's places like banks and federal facilities and things that you're not supposed to. And you know what? I respect that, and I don't carry. I get to their facilities, and I put them away legally. Can't have them on school property. Well, I don't go to a fucking school, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have any kids, much less kids in school. In fact, none of my nephews are in school anymore. In fact, one of them, tomorrow, I love you, buddy, is going off to basic training for the Army. Very proud of you, bro. So, yeah. Going to break down a couple things on this topic here, and I'm pretty much done talking about this. This is an act of domestic terrorism. He's a piece of shit that committed an act of terrorism, and there's no other way of looking at it. Again, thoughts and prayers to the victims and the victims' families of this incident. It's a sad moment for you guys. But let's not start casting stones like we always do as a general population. Oh, he used a gun and he used an AK-47. We have to ban all assault weapons. We have to ban guns. No. Stop throwing stones at the wrong thing. Stop attacking the wrong problems. These problems start at home, and I'll continue to talk about that here in just a moment. But these problems start first off in the home. It's how you raise your children is how they're going to turn out. And normal people, sane people, don't carry out crimes like this. Normal, sane individuals don't carry out acts of terrorism like this. So don't throw blame at the wrong things here. Let's go after the correct problems. looking at firearms related crimes, there's so many skewed statistics on this that it's hard to get an accurate, real reading on this. But, like one report right here saying that nearly 40,000 firearms related deaths in 2017. Okay, 39,000 gun related deaths. That's terrible. That could have been prevented in a lot of other ways, but before you start saying, well, that's 40,000 crimes right there, we have to ban the guns. Okay? How many of those crimes were committed by people who legally were in possession of the firearms used? The firearms used in the commission of these crimes, and the statistics I'm going to say are bullshit on the actual number, but one statistic said 65%, but I think that number is going to be higher, because if you're committing an act of crime, then you're unlawfully in possession of that firearm, so that's bullshit. The sample audience they chose to pull these polls from were from inmates in a prison. Are you going to ask someone, hey, did you illegally obtain the firearm you used in the commission of your crime? They don't want another fucking charge. They're not going to say, oh yeah, I was illegally in possession of that. I got that. I stole that from somebody, or I got it from the black market, or I got it from, I got it illegally. So then they're going to get more charges added to them, and this is what they would fear from that. So why the hell would they tell the truth? So yeah, I kind of find that statistic bullshit. I'm assuming that number is going to be a lot higher. Because then again, if you're committing that crime, then you are no longer lawfully in possession of that firearm. Well, what about alcohol? If 39,000 per year, or just under 40,000 last year, or 2017 rather, crime-wise, for firearms. Here in the United States, around 500,000 crimes were committed as related to the use of alcohol. Driving under the influence of alcohol, to this guy was drunk and then started attacking people, or barroom fights, domestic violence, things of that nature. They're listing 500,000 cases are related to alcohol. 80% of them, of the homicides committed, 86% of the homicides were related to alcohol-induced stupidity, and 60% of sexual abuse or rape was by alcohol. So alcohol was a contributing factor to more crimes in general every frickin' year. Alcohol is a bigger factor in crime than guns were. Well, we saw what happened whenever the United States banned alcohol. See how well that worked. I consume alcohol very rarely. Okay. In fact, in the past year, I have had, and I can count them because it was a six-pack. And yes, they were fruity drinks. They were Jack Daniel's watermelon. And they were frickin' delicious, too. But I didn't sit here and slam all six of them and get drunk and hammered and go drive my car around and try to run people over. No, I was sitting in my home, and more often than not, all six of those were consumed, definitely not at the same time, but over the course of maybe 2 weeks. And they were at night prior to going to sleep, and they were more of a sleep aid than anything else. Okay? So, I am not against the use of alcohol, but I'm against the way most people use alcohol. Okay? Going to a bar and having a drink with your meal, kind of sketchy, but okay. Going to a bar, and yes, I used to do this, going to a bar and getting hammered, okay, no problem as long as you're not going to drive. But how are you going to get home? Well, you need to hit up Uber, Lyft, or taxi services. Hey, there's plenty of taxi cab drivers out there that still need to make a damn living. So, hey, why don't you call a cab? Let these guys earn a living. All right. Um, so alcohol is a larger contributing factor to crime and death in this country than firearms are. But we're not doing anything to control alcohol. Because the majority of people out there, well, I don't really want to ban alcohol because I like having a drink every now and then. Well, I don't want to ban firearms because I like getting new firearms. I like guns. I like going to the range. I like shooting. I don't go hunting anymore. I don't have a need to kill anything. There's just no reason for me to kill anything. I'm not going to consume the meat, so therefore, why should I kill it? If I was trying to survive, different story. But I don't have a need to go hunting. I don't have a need to go kill anything. I'm not going to shoot anything that don't need shooting. So, honestly, whenever you consume alcohol, you lose your mental faculties and therefore are not able to make rational decisions. Well, alcohol aside, there's plenty of people out there that are just plain stupid and they don't particularly make good decisions. Okay, obviously this ass clown that committed this act of domestic terrorism today and shot up that Walmart, he was definitely not in his right frame of mind, and it's because people lack morality and common sense is why we have problems like this. This kid was bullied in school, so he stole his dad's gun, come back to school, and shot up the school. Okay, well, why did he steal the gun? Why did he shoot up the school? Because he was bullied and nothing was done to stop or prevent the bullying. Okay, if you're getting bullied in school and you report to people in your school, the staff of that school, teachers, or other faculty, you report to them that, hey, I'm being bullied, and the school does nothing to stop it, nothing to protect you from the bullies, then the school is then liable for anything that happens afterwards. So I'm making up a fictional case here of Fred is getting bullied by the jocks on the football team, which is a very common thing in most schools, because the jocks think that they're so freaking cool and awesome and that kind of stuff. And those were usually people that was kicking their ass. But because I was a band geek. Oh, you're a band geek. We can kick your ass. Yeah, you got surprised when you got your ass kicked, right? So, Fred here is getting bullied by the jocks, and he goes to the guidance counselor and say, "Hey, these 5 individuals are bullying me almost every day, and I'm really getting upset about it, and I'm really tired of being bullied and harassed and assaulted on a regular basis. Do something about it." Well, if this guidance counselor then does nothing about it, they're at fault for what can happen. If they report to the principal also, and the guidance counselor goes to the principal and says, "Hey, we've got some of the football team is harassing, these individuals here. This person here has been harassed. They've been assaulted. They've been bullied by these 4 individuals who just happen to be part of the football team, who are the school celebrities because they're the popular kids from the football team." And the principal of the school is like, "Well, they got a big game coming up. They're probably just..." No, it doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. Assholes are being assholes, and assholes need to be put back in their place. Okay? If Fred's getting bullied by these 4 guys on the football team, then those 4 guys from the football team need to be dealt with quickly and effectively. How that happens, that's for debate on another time. But what happens now is Fred is being bullied by these four guys on the football team, right? So he goes to the guidance counselor. Guidance counselor goes to the principal. The principal says, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just, a big game coming up. So, they're just kind of riled up a little bit, and they're just venting off a little bit of pressure and steam. And just don't worry about it. It'll blow over." Well, then, a week goes by, it continues. Another week goes by, the harassment and the bullying and the assaulting continues until finally Fred's just had enough. Well, Fred's not old enough to own a firearm because he's still in high school. He's not legally old enough to buy a firearm. So he knows that his dad's got a couple guns. So he steals a gun. He steals a pistol from his father's bedroom or wherever it was improperly kept. Because if you allow your children to be able to just walk into your room and just pick up a firearm and go, then you're wrong too. You're in the wrong there. You're improperly storing that firearm to keep it safe from being used in the commission of a crime. So you're at fault there as well for not securing your firearms. All right. So Fred steals a pistol from his father and is now illegally in possession of this firearm. Goes to school the next day. Goes into the cafeteria where these four football players are sitting around with their little cheerleader girlfriends, and Fred just opens up. He fucking shoots all four of these football players, half the cheerleading squad, and about 10, 15 other people that are right there that are falling all over themselves, scared, trying to get out of the way. So, now, say, 20 people have died, and another 15 have been injured, and now Fred's sitting there with a pistol in his hands, waving at anybody who gets close enough and ends up blowing his own fucking brains out. How could it have been prevented? Well, I know that for many, 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 many decades in history, okay, whenever I was in high school, hell, even back in elementary school, there's always going to be a bully. And they're going to go around flexing their muscle like, haha, I'm better than you, I can kick your ass, haha. And they're just going to be assholes. They're going to push you in the playground, and we're talking about elementary school here. Push you in the playground, and so they can get to the swing first, or the slide first, or you're on the swing and minding your own business. They just come over, and it's not always guys. There's girls that can be bullies too, but the bully goes over and shoves you off the friggin' swing so that they can get on the swing, and then just going to sit there and not even swing. They're not doing anything. They're just sitting there so you can't use it. Bullies are going to be bullies. Yeah. And then you get to middle school, same thing. You're going to have bullies that get out there in the break areas and playground and so forth, and just be assholes. Start fights and push you around, cut in front of you in line in the cafeteria because what are you going to do about it? Just being douchebag bullies. What are you going to do about it? Nothing gets done about it. You get to high school, and no, jocks aren't the only ones that can be douchebag bullies. Okay, you don't have to be a member of the football team to be a douchebag, but most douchebags are football players. So go figure. So people who think that they're better than you and tend to be, you got the ones that try to be the biggest alphas, like, I'm bigger than you are, I'm better than you are. You're not. You're just a piece of shit, and you're beneath the people who you think are beneath you. If you think that you're better than everybody else, then you are the weak link in the situation. Okay. Back in my day, it may have been, okay, not the best thing in the world, but I could go to school and there'd be a pickup truck out in the parking lot that's got a shotgun and a gun rack because they're going to go deer hunting after school. Okay. No harm, no foul. They're going to go deer hunting later. I've had guns in my cars that I had in school. Primarily it was a Volkswagen Beetle. Love that car. But, yeah, I had guns in my car because after school, me and some buddies were going to go to the range. They may not have been legally, obtained, but they weren't stolen or anything like that. They were, like, hey, I'll give you the money, go buy it for me. There was situations that are always going to be like that, and they're wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I had guns that were my own that, after school I'd go to the range. I'm not out there to cause any malicious damage or hurt anybody, or I'm not going out shooting road signs or, robbing anybody. That shit just wasn't in my protocol because I had proper upbringing to where I had respect and common courtesy towards people. And I believe that, if you want to get respect from somebody, show respect. And just because you're being nice doesn't mean that you're weak. You can be strong as hell and still be polite. So we need to target the bullies first, stop the bullying in school. There's still going to be alphas that are going to be flexing their muscles and doing their thing. But when it comes to somebody pushing you, shoving you, putting their hands on you, that is assault. That is a criminal activity. That needs to be stopped fast. Whenever you're sitting there calling somebody, hey, you little piece of shit, you nerd. Yeah. Being called a nerd back in my day was a bad thing. And by the way, those nerds back in my day are now running big companies, or, they're 96% smarter than the dumb shits that were calling them nerds back then. So yeah, those same people that were called nerds, and I called some people nerds too. If I call somebody a nerd, it's out of respect. Means obviously you're smarter than I am, and I'm mad at you because you're smarter than I am. Take that as a level of respect. I'm not going to hurt you because you're smarter than I am. I'm not ignorant. But let's start taming the ignorance early in elementary school, middle school, high school. Let's get this shit under control at an early age. And it doesn't start in the school, it starts in the home. If you are a parent, if you have spread your legs and created offspring, okay, you are responsible for your broodling, okay? You're responsible for your spawn. If you've opened your legs and let some whatever individual hop in your cooter and you spitting out a little rug muffin, okay? But we were in love and he was drunk, but no, whatever, I don't give a fuck. However, whatever, if you give birth to another human being, if you are either of the parties involved in creating offspring, you are the parents of a human. You must train this human to assimilate themselves into the world in a moral fashion that is suitable for public activities, okay? If you know that your child has become a little shitbag in school, then you need to nip that shit in the bud. If your child is that bully, you're responsible for that, okay? You're responsible for fixing your broodling that you've shoved out into the public, okay? If you've created a weak little melon head, you're responsible for that. You're responsible for the protection and the education of your offspring so that they can properly assimilate into the local region with a certain level of morality and common sense. Okay? Looking at morality is a subject for a whole nother video, but we want to keep Fred from picking up that gun and going and shooting up a school. We want to keep these fucktards from going into a Walmart and killing 20 plus people and mowing down as many people as they can. We want to stop terrorism. Domestic, foreign, doesn't matter. Terrorism is terrorism. We need to stop terrorism. Start by stopping assholes, not by banning guns. The guns didn't do it. Assholes did it. Ignorant pieces of shit were the ones who committed these acts of terrorism. Well, what about Al-Qaeda and this and that? Okay, we're not talking about religious or whatever else. Religion is responsible for more deaths every year than normal firearm violence, okay? Oil, the greed for oil has killed more people every year than firearms themselves. Firearms may have been used in the commissions of those horrific crimes, but greed and religion are two of the top reasons why people get killed. Yeah, start that shit at home. I'm going to finish off this video, and I'm going to talk about the method of which you can legally purchase a firearm in the United States of America in a non-communist state. And what I mean by that is, here in South Carolina, as a prime example, if I want to purchase a firearm, I go to the store, and say if I go into a gun shop and decide that, I like this individual pistol, okay? We're going to say that, or an AR-15 or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but we're going to assume that this is going to be a pistol, STI 1911 or whatever. So I decide that this is a pistol that I want to get, so therefore I'm going to buy it. I have the money, it's right here, I have cash, I have a debit card, whatever. I have the currency to be able to afford it. Now I wish to purchase this firearm. Then comes filling out the appropriate paperwork. And this is a Form 4473, and yes, you can still go to some places now, or you can go to some stores that allow you to sit down in a chair at a computer screen and fill out this form electronically. I kind of don't like that. It might speed up the process a little bit, but I prefer that human interaction. And I'll explain why really quickly. Is if you come into a gun shop and I'm working behind the counter, and I've worked at several gun shops, okay, and I have declined people's sales based on my opinion of that person, okay. 2 weeks after there was a church shooting here in Charleston, an individual came into the particular gun shop that I was working at, and he's wishing to buy a firearm. He's wishing to make a transaction and make my store money. So, he's a customer. He's ready to buy a firearm, but he made a comment, well, is this the kind of gun I'd use for, shooting up a church? Okay. First off, the paperwork that we had started went directly into the shredder. I pulled that away from him and I put it in the shredder. And whenever we're filling out paperwork wise, the firearm is no longer in reach of the customer. It's sitting on the counter behind, so they no longer have access to it while we're processing paperwork. Once he made that comment, I grabbed the paperwork from him, dropped it in the shredder. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "You are going to have to leave." And he started to get a little bit on the cocky side, and then he remembered that I'm open carry with a 1911 on my hip. I'm like, "No, sir. Those kind of comments, I'm not going to have you in my store making those kind of comments." And I escorted him to the door, and was not reprimanded by the management of the store, because that's not the kind of person we want having a firearm. Even if they were joking, it does not matter. You don't make those kind of comments. Okay? Another situation where a young lady came into the store wishing to buy a firearm. Okay? She wanted to buy a pistol. But because we're sitting here having a physical interaction, we're talking back and forth, I can kind of get a feel for the individual who is wishing to buy a firearm. Yes, a firearm is a deadly weapon that could be used to cause harm. So, yeah, we want to kind of have some physical control over that. So, if you listen to your customer and don't say, "Okay, whatever, give me your driver's license," whatever, instead of being a freaking drone behind the counter, pay attention to your customer. Okay? And while talking to this woman, she then started making comments of, "Well, what kind of damage do these bullets do?" And that just flag went off, okay? And then I kind of got the feeling that she was trying to buy a pistol and ammunition so that she could go home and commit suicide. And I'm not going to let that happen. I wasn't rude about anything, but as we were progressing, I kind of was trying to feel out, question-wise, what exactly she wanted that pistol for, until at which point she ran, not walked out of the store, but ran out of the store crying. I gave her just a second, but we watched on cameras and everything else. I went out to the car, I approached her, and was very, very polite in asking if there was anything that I could do, if she needed me to call somebody for her. we're humans behind that counter, and we're supposed to be. I've gone to gun shops where there was drones behind the counter, and there was rude pieces of shit behind the counter, and I'm gonna call it like I see it. All right, you got to listen to your customers and quit being a drone on either side of that counter. So the human interaction before the final point of buying a firearm, that human interaction is needed so that you can kind of get an idea of why this person's buying this gun. I get all up in somebody's business. You want to buy a firearm? I want to know why. I want to know what you're going to use it for. Not because I'm nosy, because, well, the first thing I did whenever I was greeting, and I should make another video specifically on the guy behind the counter or the gal behind the counter, the salesperson behind the counter at a gun shop, and the interactions they need to do when they're dealing with a customer trying to make a purchase. The first thing I do is meet and greet, because I'm a nice person. Believe it or not, yes, I am a nice person. Shut up. Is I'll shake their hand. And there's a couple reasons why I want to shake their hand. First off, someone that's dishonest is not going to want to make that personal interaction of shaking hands. So that's kind of feeling out your personality a little bit. Second off, it's a courteous way of greeting somebody. Hey, how are you? My name is Bart, and welcome to the shop, and how can I help you today, and that kind of stuff. Another reason why is whenever I shake your hand, if you're there to buy a pistol and you've got small hands, I'm not going to show you a Desert Eagle, because you won't be able to hold a son of a bitch. Not saying you can't operate whatever. I'm just saying your hands are too small to fit a certain size firearm. Or if your hands are big, well, you're not going to want a subcompact pistol like a C-Camp 32. You're not going to want this little dinky tiny thing, because you're just not going to be able to operate it. So by shaking your hand, then I have kind of gotten an idea of how strong your grip is, the size of your hand, and then I can start directing you towards the right firearm to fit your needs appropriately. So I'm paying attention to my customer. I'm always gathering information. So I'm the one that can figure out whether or not you're trying to buy this for nefarious reasons. If you come into a gun shop and you smell like you've just smoked weed in your vehicle before coming in, you will be ejected. You will be refused sale of a firearm because you're a fucking moron. And I'll explain that more. I've kicked out people for being drunk, coming from a bar and going to a gun shop. Yes, you're going to be asked to leave. You're intoxicated. You smell like alcohol. Or you smell like you just smoked weed in your car before coming into the gun shop. You're a fucking idiot. You cannot legally purchase a firearm if you're drunk or have been using marijuana. You can't legally own or purchase a firearm. Okay, so nonetheless, we're moved to the point where we're going to do the paperwork. It's a federal firearms paperwork. It's U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, BATFE. It is a Form 4473 is what it's called. Form 1. Okay. So you fill out your last name, your first name, middle name. If you're buying this legally, then you need to print clean and clear. Last name, first name, middle initial. If you don't have a middle name, if you have a middle name, put the whole frickin' middle name. If you do not possess a middle name for some reason or another, NMN. It says right here what to do. So just read the form first and then start filling it out would be the best thing to do. If you don't understand, ask that person behind the counter. It's their job there to make you understand. Fill out the information correctly. Well, what do they need to know if I'm Hispanic or not Hispanic? Just shut up and fill the damn thing out. Your race. What does that have to do with anything? It's them gathering some information here, and you know what? Just fill it out. They're trying to obtain certain levels of data that they can use in numeric values for polls at the end of the year for, whatever reason. You know what? If you want to own a firearm in the United States of America, these are the questions you must answer. If you want to own them, you must comply with their rules to be able to legally own them, or you don't legally own them. So just fill it out. What does it hurt? I'm not Hispanic, so I've checked there. I'm white, so I click there. Big deal. So let's look at the questions. There's not a whole lot of questions on this form here that you're required to answer. Well, you're required to fill out everything that you're told to fill out on here. But let's look over these questions. Are you the actual transferee buyer of the firearm or firearms listed on this form? You are not the actual transferee buyer if you are acquiring a firearm on behalf of another person. If you are not, okay, basically what we're saying here, and they're saying in form 4473, question 11, part A, is are you the person buying the damn gun? Are you buying it for you? If you answer yes, you are buying it for you, then that's fine. And there are exceptions if you are buying for another person. So just ask for clarification from the person behind the counter. But essentially, if I'm married and I'm buying a gun for my wife, I can do that. If I'm buying a gun for my child who is legally old enough to own a firearm and buy one anyway, I can give that to them for their birthday or Christmas or whatever else. There are some legal exemptions to that, but just ask for clarification. So, no, if you're going into a gun shop and your buddy is with you and he can't buy a firearm for some reason or another because he can't ask these questions and he won't qualify to legally buy it. If he can't legally buy or own a firearm and you're there to buy it for that other person, you are violating federal law if you lie on that question and check, yes, you're the actual buyer. If at that point you're buying it for somebody else who cannot legally possess it, then you are committing an act of a felony. You are lying on a federal form and illegally obtaining a firearm. Okay? You then have become a criminal. Don't do it. Don't lie for the other guy was a slogan they were using for quite a while. Just don't do it. You don't have to be a dick about it. And like, dude, if you can't buy one, I'm not getting it for you. I'm not going to jail for your ass. Well, you won't go to jail. It doesn't matter. It's illegal. I'm not doing it. If they don't like it, fuck them. They're the idiots, not you. You're the bigger person for not violating a federal law, okay? Are you under indictment or information in any court for a felony or any crime for which the judge could imprison you for more than 1 year? Okay, if you just got out of jail, you were arrested for criminal domestic violence or another felony or any crime. If you were arrested for, endangering somebody's life while driving a motor vehicle or whatever the case may be, you could be given up to a year in jail for that crime. You wrote 47 bad checks. May not be a felony, but you can get more than a year in jail for that many checks. So, yeah, if you're pending court or pending court sentencing for any crime that could potentially be a year or more, yeah, you're not going to get a gun. And if you do, you're doing it illegally. It also means that going into Part C, have you ever been convicted in any court of a felony or any crime in which a judge could have imprisoned you for more than a year, even if you received a shorter sentence, including probation? So you are basically, B and C are almost the same thing. B is haven't been convicted yet, and C is has been convicted. So you need to take that into consideration. If you've committed a felony or any crime that could have given you a year or more sentence, any, not just a felony, but any, then yeah, no bueno. You don't qualify for owning a firearm in this country. Are you a fugitive from justice? Okay, if you lie on this question, yeah, that's just kind of a no-brainer. If you're a fugitive, if you're on the run from the law, you shouldn't be buying a gun to begin with. So, Anyway, we're going to move on from that one. This is one that so many people lie about that it's just not even funny. And thank you for not letting me just highlight the part that I want to do. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? The use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in whatever state you reside in. So, I live in blah 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 state, and it's legal for me to have, a little bit of weed on me for personal use, or, it's for medicinal purposes only. So it's legal for me to have it. It doesn't matter. It is unlawful if you are a user of that controlled substance. If you are a user of marijuana for any reason or another, if you use marijuana or any depressant, alcohol is a depressant, by the way, stimulant, so stay away from your meth, any narcotic drug or other controlled substance. If you're permanently prescribed a pain medication that's narcotic based, you know what? It's a controlled substance. So pretty much if you smoke marijuana, don't think you can legally own a firearm. Okay? So I have had customers who have come into the store that smelled like they smoked a whole frickin' joint right before they walked into the frickin' store. They stunk of that skunk shit weed that they make nowadays. Crap weed that's on the market out there today. It smells like shit. Makes me think that, to get the smell, I would rather lick a skunk's asshole than be around that nasty shit smell of marijuana. So I hate marijuana users. Fuck them. You're stupid. Stop doing it. It's illegal. Don't do it. But if you come into a damn gun shop smelling like marijuana, you're going to get kicked out because you can't legally own or buy a firearm. So you have no purpose to be in a gun shop. Get the fuck out. Get a new hobby. Have you ever been educated or declared? Basically, what this part F is saying is, have you ever been declared mentally defective? And that's sad. Is most of the idiots out there that use firearms in the commission of a crime are mentally defective, but they may not have been declared mentally defective, or have been committed to a mental institution. There are clarification on the other pages to fill out or to read if you're unclear about that part. If you think that you're fucking crazy, then you shouldn't have a gun. If you've been deemed by a court or a mental health facility to say that you're mentally defective, you don't have any reason owning a firearm. Sorry, that's just a thing. Have you ever been discharged from the armed forces under dishonorable conditions? If you have a dishonorable discharge from the armed forces for whatever reason, you cannot legally own a firearm. Kind of for and against that, but what if you served for 15 years honorably and then something happens and you end up getting a dishonorable discharge? Because you had a momentary lapse of reason, or you fell asleep at the wheel and you ran over somebody and killed them and whatever, and you're put in jail for a year, then given a dishonorable discharge. It depends on the conditions of that. Because I've seen dishonorable discharges spooned out to people who didn't deserve them. Yeah, that shit happens. People getting kicked out of the military for all the wrong reasons, because of personal reasons of somebody else. I just don't like that little piece of shit. Fuck him. Let's get him out. Let's just kick him out of the Army, or kick him out of the Navy, or Air Force, Marine Corps, or Coast Guard, whatever. So, yeah, that one's a little bit fuzzy for me on Part G. But this isn't about my thoughts on this. This is the questions you're going to be asked. Are you subject to a court order restraining you from harassing, stalking. Do you have a restraining order against you for some reason or another? Because you're a piece of shit, because you are harassing, stalking, or threatening your child or an intimate partner or pretty much any fucking body else. If you've got a restraining order, then you don't fucking need a firearm. You need some mental health taken care of. So, ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence? If you've been arrested for criminal domestic violence, all domestic violence is criminal. So, domestic violence. Have you been convicted for domestic violence? Then no, you don't get to buy a gun. Country of citizenship, United States or other. Why would they need that? Well, here's one good example of being a need to legally purchase and obtain a firearm by somebody who does not live in this country. It's because we won't let you import your own guns when you come to our country. So what happens is whenever the team from the German, UK, Russian shooting teams, they come to the U.S. here for an Olympic shooting event. These people need to have their guns if they're going to shoot in the Olympics. But if we won't let them bring their guns into our country, then they're going to have to purchase them locally. And they're not from our country, and so under this part right here, part 12A, they're not from our country. And part A up here, they're buying it for somebody else. They're buying it for their team. They're buying it legally for somebody else. So yeah, there are reasons to legally obtain a firearm for somebody else and from somebody from another country if there's an appropriate reason and paperwork and documentation to prove that. Have you ever renounced your United States citizenship? Fuck America, I don't want to be an American anymore, so I'm going to go be... I'm going to become a nationalist from whatever country. Yeah, if you renounce your citizenship, you're no longer an American citizen and you can't legally buy a gun. Are you an alien illegally or unlawfully in the United States? Well, for fuck's sake, if you didn't come to my country legally, then hell no, you're not going to get armed. We call those terrorists, by the way, as they should be. Are you an alien who has been admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant visa? If yes, do you fall within any of the exceptions? Okay, if you're unclear on those, there's plenty of explanations on the other pages. If you are an alien, record your U.S. issued alien or administration number. So if you're from Pluto, just saying, you better have your immigration card and stuff, and you'll have to put that number right there. So, all you Plutonians out there, get your shit straight. You'll sign here, put today's date of the date that you're actually buying it, and then from there, you're done for now. This is where the person behind the counter is, the counter monkey are going to take over, and they check whether it's a handgun, long gun, or other firearm, like a receiver, frame, AR-15 blower, whatever. If the transfer is at a qualifying gun show or event, the name of the gun show and the city and state of the gun show. That is prevalent because, whatever. You'll put like your driver's license, driver's license identification number, social security number, expiration date of any of this thing. This is for them to fill out. They'll fill it out from your information that you provide to them. They'll do the background check, which will be filled out partially right here. Then they'll check whether it was a proceed, denied, canceled, or no response within 3 business days. Some places still will follow the ruling of if they don't receive a response back within 3 days, they can transfer it over to you. Most gun shops will not do that. It's up to the gun shop itself, but most will not transfer it after 3 days, because if it hasn't come back within 3 seconds, I start to get worried. If it hasn't come back within 3 minutes, I'm still going to be worried. So if you haven't got a response back in 3 days, you can pretty much, there's a 90% probability you're not going to get approved. But if you get approved, usually it's within a few seconds on the computer when it's done on the computer. If it's done via phone call, it can be sometimes done just as quick as a finger snap. But we're going to say that you filled out all this paperwork correctly, all your data was good, everything was submitted good, and you call the person behind the counter does a background check, and you get a proceed here in South Carolina. If they say proceed right there, you put the date and go from there. Now, at that point, paperwork can be completed, all the information on the firearm, that kind of stuff. But at that point, you'll end up having to sign one more time afterwards, so you know that you're the one picking it up. Blah, 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 blah. Right here, transfer a signature. Now you can sign here and the date that you're picking it up if there's any delay or anything else. But, okay, the paperwork's done, and now you legally can own that firearm. So therefore, then we would carry the firearm up to the cash register, or if you're at a small enough shop, then we'll move over to the counter and okay, well, you need ammo, you need a holster, you need whatever else. But at that point, you legally can possess that firearm. Some shops won't complete the transaction until you pay for it. If for some reason you've paid for this firearm and you get declined, well, they're going to give you your money back. Simple enough. But now you legally own that firearm that is put down on this piece of paperwork, and you are responsible for what happens to it. You are responsible for what happens to it. If I leave it in my glove box and it gets stolen, and this has happened to me before, you immediately report it as stolen, and hopefully you've kept serial numbers so that you can report it, give the serial number, description of the firearm, that kind of stuff. Have the same information that you put down here. You need to have a copy of this. Most gun shops will, if you ask them for a copy of this page or whatever else, or I don't want just a printed receipt out of a cash register, because those are thermal, and if they get in direct sunlight, they'll turn black. I want an actual printed something, or a copy of, or whatever, that shows the manufacturer or importer, the model number, the serial number, the type, and the caliber. I want that information that's on this form right here. I want that exact information printed up and kept in several safe places. So if that firearm does get stolen, then I want to have this so I can hand this to the police officer, highlight it in yellow, this is the one that was stolen, and then put an X's over the ones that, or black marks over whatever, to say, okay, this is the only one that was stolen, this is the information, so that it is now registered as stolen. Which I've got paperwork from the police department right now on one that I got to fill back out and send back to them to confirm that no, the firearm has not been recovered, it is still stolen. Once a year they send me that same paperwork out, and I fill it out and I send it back, which I got to fill this one out and send it back. But you're responsible for whatever firearms you buy, so don't buy for the other guy, don't lie for the other guy. If you don't understand the laws, GTS, Google that shit. And right here, I was able to obtain this with a quick Google search, the actual Form 4473 and all additional pages that clarify any of the questions here to a certain extent. Sometimes whenever the ATF writes out something, you might need to get a translator for their translations, but ask the right people, get the right answers. So yeah. I'm going to wrap up this video. It's an hour. Try not to get too much on the soapbox on this one. Again, the shooting today was a horrible thing, but it was an act of terrorism. Terrorism. Domestic terrorism. The person who performed the shootings was a terrorist. If you don't believe me, Google it. Second off, Google the definition of terrorism. Okay? If somebody has a political agenda or other agenda and premeditated goes into somewhere and starts shooting innocent bystanders, is an act of terrorism. There is no other way about it. School shootings, that's terrorism. But each level of terrorism, they have their own reason for doing what they did, but those reasons are unjust, illegal, and just wrong. So any type of mass shooting needs to be viewed as an act of terrorism and taken care of as such. Don't blame the guns. The guns didn't do it. Stupid people did. If you want to start cracking down on things that's killing people, let's take a look at our morality levels, and let's take a look at alcohol. How many people die in vehicle-related accidents every year, or vehicle-related deaths? Alcohol-related, drug-related. We're not doing anything. We're not banning cars because 500,000 people last year got killed in car wrecks. We're not banning alcohol because 500,000 people last year were killed by alcohol-related incidents, or 500,000 were killed by drug-related, greed-related. How many people every year die from? We need the oil. We need all the oil because my wallet's getting thinner. I only have 7 summer homes. I need an 8th and maybe a 9th summer home. So therefore, we're going to go ahead and invade this country so that I can pad my retirement fund a little bit better. Greed kills more people than as the root cause. A firearm does not commit a crime. Owning a firearm is not a crime. It should not be. If it is in some area where you can't legally own a gun, well, that's because there were too many stupid people using guns, and there was too many stupid people making laws against the guns when they should have been going after the stupid people. Fix stupid first before you start banning everything else. If you want to start banning things that are killing people, ban alcohol, ban greed, ban bullies, ban the other things that actually cause these things. But don't blame a gun for a crime. Don't blame a car for a crime. Blame stupid and take care of stupid first. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox, and this goes against the protocol that I wanted to use for this format of videos, of showing off on the stupid news of 2 stupid things each day. But any stupid thing that happened, okay, 2 stupid things and then 1 positive thing is the way I want to do each of these videos. But I just really wanted to voice my opinion on the fact that since the mass shooting today and every mass shooting that goes on, these are acts of terrorism. Don't target the guns because the guns didn't do it. Don't sit there and blame the wrong things. Let's go after and let's start fixing the right things. Fix people first before you say, well, kids keep falling off their bicycles and hitting their heads on the pavement, so now every child has to wear a helmet before they get on their bicycle. Because helmets will keep kids from falling off their bicycles and hitting their heads. No, it won't. In fact, I have had more head injuries. I've had a few head injuries. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. But nonetheless, I've hit my head and hurt myself more while wearing a helmet than not wearing a helmet. I've had very little head trauma in my life, but anytime that I've hit my head on something, it's because I was wearing a helmet. And the helmet was taller than my head, and I got a big head to begin with, but it was sitting an inch or 2 above the normal level of where I know that my head is, because I have awareness to a certain level, and I know that if I move my head through here, it's going to fit. Well, now I got a helmet on there, and I've got to take into account that, that's 2 inches above my head, so I end up hitting my head, and it hurts my neck. Or was in a piece of shit concrete truck, and hit a pothole that the quote-unquote suspension seat, it's supposed to make the ride smoother, has thusly launched me into the ceiling and almost knocked me unconscious because the spring in the seat pushed so hard up while in a seat belt, so I couldn't come out of it, smashed my head against the ceiling of a truck because the road was so bad in that area that the suspension seat threw me against the ceiling. But because I was wearing a hard hat, it caused extra mushrooming of my head against my shoulders, and it literally almost knocked me unconscious while driving an 81,000 pound vehicle loaded with concrete. No, not dangerous. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to keep getting on my soapbox and keep getting away from the topic at hand. The main point of this is it was sad that so many people lost their lives today and so many more people got injured today in the shooting in El Paso, Texas. It's sad that that happened. But it's also sad that the majority of people are going to start going under the bandwagon of we need to ban guns because guns did this. A gun did not commit the crime. An idiot with a gun committed that crime. If guns didn't exist at all, then that son of a bitch would have been there with a bow and arrow or a spear or a sword or whatever else. There's always been assholes committing murders with weapons, okay? People were dying by other people's hands before there were guns. So look at the root of the problem, not the tools. We're not going to outlaw swords because swords have killed a lot of people. We're not going to outlaw cars because cars killed a lot of people. Not going to outlaw alcohol because alcohol was the reason why somebody killed that person. Alcohol just makes you the person that you are enhanced. So if you're an asshole, then getting drunk is going to make you a much bigger asshole. So that's what really saddens me the most about all this, and it's sad to say it that way, but people are so stupid in general that they're going to start blaming the wrong thing. We have to attack the guns. We have to attack this. We have to go against that. Fight ignorant first, because that's an ignorant approach. So therefore, you're going at it the wrong way. So you are then ignorant. If you say that banning guns is the way to solve this issue, then you're ignorant and you need to be dealt with. Okay? Deal with the real issues that cause these problems. School shootings are terrible things, okay? Break down why they happen. Was that person bullied? Were they dumped by their girlfriend? Were they whatever? Find out what caused the person to commit this act. Okay? There was a reason why that person committed that crime. This particular situation, the piece of shit that committed this crime, this act of terrorism, had his own little personal agenda that he wanted to prove a point or whatever else. He was psychotic to think that. But there was a reason why this piece of shit committed that crime. Find out the core of why these crimes are committed before you start making laws that's going to affect millions of people. Use common sense. I mean, seriously, it's just, I know that's asking a lot for a lot of people, but you have to look at the root of the evil, and the root of the evil is not the tools of the trade. I said, if there were no guns and you couldn't legally buy a firearm in this country, and citizens could not arm themselves to protect themselves from the criminals, criminals are going to commit crimes. They're going to own guns whether it's legal or not, and if they're committing crimes, it's not legal for them to have that. They're using it in the commission of a crime that's the crime within itself, but criminals are going to obtain illegal things one way or the other. They're going to get whatever they need to commit their crimes. So don't penalize the average person. And I still say that since I'm pretty sure that Walmart that the shooting took place in, it appeared that they actually had signs that were posted in Texas, since it is an open carry state. If you have a concealed carry permit, you can open carry your concealed carry firearm. So if I have a 1911 on my hip and it starts getting warm and I take my jacket off and now you can see my holstered weapon, that's okay. It's legal for me to have an exposed firearm and walk inside of a store. But if a store doesn't want you to have a firearm on you, whether concealed or otherwise, they have to post it to say that they don't want that to happen. But if you're going to post that your customers cannot carry a firearm in your store, then you need to provide them with adequate protection, because shit like this, if there had been legally armed citizens in that establishment at the time of the shooting, somebody could have reacted and shot the perpetrator. and a lot less people would have died. Not saying that nobody would have died, but a lot less people would have died if there had been people who were legally able to defend themselves. Enough said. I'm out. There's just too much stupid in this world that I need to take my medication. Go to sleep. It's high blood pressure medication, by the way. And it's because dumb shit like this gets my blood pressure up and just antagonizes my brain how much stupid is in this world and how much stupid is trying to control the stupid. And the blind are leading the blind. So I'm just getting out of here. Fuck it. If we don't voice our opinions loud enough, then nobody's going to hear us. If I talk really quiet and nobody can hear me, if I scream at the top of my lungs, you're a fucking idiot, stop being a fucking idiot, that's not doing any good. If I tell you why you're being a fucking idiot and help you stop being a fucking idiot, that's okay. You don't want to go up, excuse me, sir, but you're a fucking idiot. No, you don't solve a problem like that. You don't defuse hostility with hostility if you can diffuse hostility with kindness. If you see someone's getting bullied at school, do something about it. Do the right thing. Involve the authorities. If the staff of if the school won't take care of the problem, you damn sure want your parents to be involved in it. If your parents and the staff of the school will not do anything about it, then you need to go to the police. Hi, I'm being bullied at school. My parents won't do anything about it. The school won't do anything about it. Please help me. Somebody will help you. And if nobody helps you, if your parents won't help, your school won't help, and the police won't help, then go to YouTube. Make a damn good video. Spam the shit out of it on social media and let the world see it. Because apparently the only way that anything can get fucking done around here is if somebody makes a good YouTube meme video that will go viral and 1,000 people will view your video. Then somebody will take notice to it. And my bullshit video like this right here, I'll be lucky to get 25 views. But if I restructured the video and put it out in a different way, then I could make my voice heard if I promoted it correctly. So I'm going to get out of here. I'll work on controlling my hatred for stupid. And I might make one of those quote-unquote viral videos and see if we can get it out there of how we can try to fix the stupid in this world. All right, I'm out. See ya.